Hi, I'm Kevin O'Brien with StorageView, and today we are on site with DataON, and we're going to be going over their new Must Pro software. And to have us to help walk us through it is Henry Fu.
Okay. So for the Must Pro software, that's part of the Windows Admin Center. It's extension within the Admin Center as a separate plugin. So in order to see the Must Pro software, we actually will go to the server cluster. And let me put in the credentials. So the Must Pro extension actually is part of the cluster updates, and basically what Microsoft has done is included the cluster aware updating feature in the cluster manager. And what we do is we hook into the CAU and handle the firmware and driver updates along with the Windows updates. So when we go to the update section, first thing it will check to see is the status of the updates for the Windows side.
This helps users look into a single pane of glass for updates, management, and also see the status of their array without having to drill into other software pieces.
That's correct. And basically the idea is that you're going to handle the Windows updates and the firmware and driver updates all in one reboot per node, and then take that node down and then reboot and then do the next one and the next one after that.
Okay.
And so gives you one reboot to deal with rather than like, oh, you do a Windows update, so you're going to do firmware updates or driver updates and then multiple reboots, and which takes a lot more time.
Oh, definitely.
And the other thing that helps is to gives the customer know that these firmware and driver updates are the ones that DataON recommends for their cluster, so they don't have to go hunt for those drivers and firmware on their own and possibly apply the wrong one.
Okay.
Okay. So it has already checked to see if there are any Windows updates. Well, we can click on this and check it again. So there are no updates, but you can see that it says check for hardware updates. And so it sees that this server, through the BIOS, it actually knows that this server is a DataON server, and that this server is an integrated system, and so it gives you the additional capability that you can do these updates from WAC. So next, get updates. So basically there's two modes, the online mode and offline mode. So we're going to do the online mode.
So what situations would customers want to use online versus offline?
The idea is that some customers, they have their nodes themselves may not be connected to the internet.
Okay.
But then they have a management server running WAC that they want to grab the updates, and then, or the other way is basically create a share path, and then they can then have the updates on that path and grab the files from there instead of from the internet.
How large are these files usually?
Usually they're not they're large because the firmware and drivers are pretty small, right, compared to like Windows updates.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So you can see that there's the list of Windows systems, utility, PCIe.
It looks like there's a chipset update under system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's one. And actually, this is on our demo system, and it actually doesn't need to be updated. It's just that this version is actually higher than the recommended, so we're not going to touch that one. But instead, we'll do the network updates.
Can this be used to both upgrade, uprev and downrev firmware?
For chipset, it can, but there's, from a scenario perspective, not too many times you're going to update too high. I mean, unless there's some issue that you need to downgrade.
Yeah.
But firmware is always a little more tricky compared to drivers when it comes to downgrading. But here you see that on this one node, the driver is lower than the recommended version.
Yeah, so going from a 2.50 to 2.60
That's correct.
software rev.
Yep. So then select that, and then we'll go install. Click install, and so it's gonna install a Mellanox driver.
So if you have workloads running on the nodes at the time, is it going to migrate the workloads over to one node and do one, and then migrate things over?
That's correct. Basically, we're leveraging the cluster we're updating orchestration, which will then do migration across the nodes from one node to the other, and then do the updates and then do the reboot.
Okay.
As needed.
Then how long would this usually take? We'll probably be speeding this up in the background, but generally speaking, how much time would each node need for a hardware update like this?
Yeah, it shouldn't take too long for hardware updates. Usually the longer time is going to be the Windows updates that you're planning to do at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can see the status is staging right now. So the update, it knows that Node 2 has the right version. So it's staging now, it's installing.
Do all driver or firmware updates require a reboot, or are some of these able to go into a maintenance mode before and then initialize and bring on that new firmware or driver without having to do a full power cycle?
Good question. I think most of what we do will require a reboot versus like Windows, where it might have security patches and no reboots needed.
Yeah.
Right? But our stuff typically would require some type of reboot.
Okay. So with the network drivers running in the background to update, we're going to check back in and see if that's completed, and then see if there are any other additional updates.
Okay. So we'll go updates. Well, since we last talked, they have already provided us with new Windows updates, so we're going to install those.
Yeah, there's always new security updates.
Okay, get updates for the hardware itself. We'll go back into the submit. Okay, so where we had the network adapters to update, all that has completed with the driver at the right level. So we are all set there. Okay, so we're going to just skip. Okay.
And then this will just install that security update.
Yep, that's it.
And then being a little software patch, I'm assuming this can update without having a node reboot.
Yep, for this security update, it will do it without having to reboot.
So overall, I mean, the Must Pro integration's fairly good to minimize a lot of different interactions that a average user might have to do to update software, firmware, Windows updates from multiple places.
Yeah, and get the right patches, the right drivers and firmware from us, and know that we've already validated that version with our systems before you try it on yours.
Yeah. Okay, well, it looks like it's been able to update itself for both. We did the network driver, and then it was able to get in that last-minute security update. Thanks for taking us through a nice walkthrough of DataON's Must Pro integration with the Windows Admin Center.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks.